It comes only from biology. Soil detoxification. We know now that our soils have been quite heavily contaminated. We know that there are issues with cadmium from DAP and MAP, and lead from DAP and MAP. We know that some of the chemical residues, some of which we thought broke down, very often don't break down. We were told that the world's largest selling fertilizer, herbicide of all, glyphosate, broke down on our soil. It does, but it breaks down to something called AMPA, which is a much more toxic substance, and it stays there for 22 years. So we were actually led down the garden path and told bullshit relative to glyphosate, because we now know that it's very, very destructive of a whole range of soil organisms, and it's hugely destructive of human health, and that's why it's to be banned in your EU by the end of this year. We will talk more about the dangers of glyphosate. In fact, I'll talk quickly about it now. I am prepared to bet you, the very few of you, because we all use glyphosate, the whole world does, it's the world's most widely used chemical, but I'm prepared to bet money that there are very few of you who actually know its mode of action, and I'm about to share that with you. Glyphosate, Roundup, the mode of action is that it shuts down something called the shikimate pathway. Now, shikimate, S-H-I-K-I-M-A-T-E. You can Google that and see what it is. It's a pathway that governs the production of 3 amino acids that every creature on the planet uses to have an immune system that functions. And the only way that we got away with putting glyphosate out into the environment was that we said, well, mammals haven't got a shikimate pathway. The only creatures that don't. Birds, every other creature but a mammal, fish, plants, microorganisms all have a shikimate pathway. And what we've done effectively is introduce AIDS to a version of AIDS, which means you have a very poorly functioning immune system, to the entire ecosystem. And the faulty flaw in saying it doesn't affect us is here. Inside our digestive tract, the 30-foot tube called the digestive tract, is 100 trillion microorganisms. We are a community of 10 trillion cells. The first cell oozed from the Precambrian ocean and sat there saying, this is pretty boring. So we started tagging on other cells, all of whom could do the same thing, until we had multicellular creatures. We had a human being with 10 trillion cells walking around. That's what we are, a community of cells. We have a separate thing called a soul, but we are a community of 10 trillion cells. But within our center, in the tube that runs down through us, the digestive tract, is 10 times more of another organism. Even our skin has 6 billion organisms per square centimetre. And you might say, get those filthy things off there and hop into a bath of Dettol, of disinfectant. Every morning, every night, you last 6 days, and you die. You just killed your protective biofilm, just like we've done to the massive number of organisms that live around every plant root and poured the chemicals on them and killed them off. Very, very strong parallel. The problem with these organisms who are linked to every aspect of our health, mental health, hugely linked to gut health, we now know. The immune system, 85% located in the gut, learning from the gut organisms. Every aspect of your health is directly linked to the health of your digestive tract, and those 100 trillion organisms do have a shikimate pathway. So suddenly they're compromised. They can't digest gluten. Suddenly we've got gluten intolerance everywhere. Autism, directly linked. Alzheimer's, hugely linked, we now know. In fact, most of the things that are killing us, you can look at the charts since the advent of GM food, and it's a one-on-one relationship with the increases in those diseases. They just run parallel lines. Dozens of diseases. People are calling it the new DDT, and many are saying it is much, much worse than DDT. And your country, your continent says, well, we didn't buy into it, we're lucky. Sorry, you're not lucky. You might not have grown the food, but you stopped producing protein crops. You produce 15% of what you produced 20 years ago. You import your feed crops, and you import your feed crops, your corn and your soy, Roundup ready, genetically modified with 3 sprays of this toxin on every food, and you put it through animals, and it comes through us. So you didn't escape, you need to know. And the breads, most of the breads in our country contain 30% GM soy with the Roundup. So we do need to do something about this thing in our environment. So prepare yourself for the fact that it will most definitely go. You might stall it for a year, but it has to go. It will go, and you need to be looking at other alternatives to glyphosate, because that's the deal. If you want to have a future, then you want your children to have a future. So we'll continue.